This is 3706. And this is his masterpiece. This was arguably the greatest economy boost in all of DonutSMP. The number one question was always, how do we fit more pickle farms inside of a base? What we ended up doing was compacting it and reducing the total size. Because of this impressive crafter, we were unable to join these side by side. So at C3 Gaming, we found a way. We added custom crafters on top, which allowed us to join these modules side by side and lengthwise. We reduced the overall footprint by several blocks, but we didn't stop there. We created the Duck V2. We upgraded it to the Duck V3, and now we upgraded it to the Duck V4. By adding an additional 3 blocks vertically, we were able to cram an entire level of pickle farms stacked on top of each other. The farm is infinitely stackable with an unprecedented footprint. We reduced the size of pickle farms even more. The 3706 V3 has 24 pickle farms in a 27 by 21 modified space. The Duck V4 with a 23 by 17 footprint, we fit an impressive 32 farms. I know what you may be thinking, pickle economies are dead, but we couldn't stop there. We designed the Duck V5. By making the farm a little wider, we were able to return to the original height of the farm. The Duck V4 and the Duck V5 both feature 32 pickle farms, but what really set apart the Duck from the 3706 is the impressive material list. Not only did we cram an additional 8 farms in the same footprint as the 3706, but we reduced the material list drastically. We thought pickle farms were fully optimized, but we were wrong. We set our focus to reduce the material list even more. The evolution of pickle farms not only reduces the size and allows you to fit more farms in your base, but we focused on the material list to make it cheaper to build. And now, not only is it cheaper to build, building it has never been easier. Not only is the Duck V5 easier to build, but the rates have never been better. It reduces lag significantly, which reduces the chances of pickles despawning in your base. Alright, thank you for indulging in that goofy intro, but we're going to just jump right into it with a 23 by 23 build border. The nice thing about this is you don't have to find a corner lengthwise or widthwise. You're going to jump down and you're going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to count over 2. You're going to place 2 blocks. Now, the material list that we showed you contained a lot of glass. You can build with glass. The solid blocks listed here are required. However, you can build with any type of block, whether it's solid or transparent, it doesn't matter. So we are going to build this whole thing with smooth stone so you can see the outline a little easier. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to place 9 pistons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. You're going to separate it by a solid block. We're going to build 2 modules side by side, and you're going to carry this out 9 blocks. You're going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side of the farm. So you're going to count up 4 towards the blocks that you just placed and count over 1. So on that second block, you're going to place 2 blocks just like before, and then you're going to carry over 9 pistons, just like on the first side. Now, with this design, you can carry this lengthwise as long as you want. We are just going to do 2 modules side by side, but each additional module would be built exactly the same with a solid block in between. Once you have that outline set up, if you don't have a build border to count from, there is 13 blocks of space in between each piston because we are going to max out the piston push limit at 12 blocks. So you need 1 block to shift it, and then we will be pushing 12. Once you have done as many modules as you're going to build, you're going to place 2 blocks off of the side of each of the pistons. When you're in the center, you already have 1 block, so you'll just place an additional block. Colin, if you can grab that side. we are going to lay out the pattern for our exits. We're going to do that first this time. In the last video, if you watched our Duck V4, we did this after we started building, but we find it easier to establish your pattern first. That way you can just copy it on the way up, and it's a lot easier to work with when you're on the ground. So the pattern, once I build this all out, is going to look like this. You will have, off of the second block, 1 fence gate, 2 blocks, 2 fence gates, 1 block, and then you mirror it, 2 fence gates, 2 blocks, 1 fence gate, block. And that is the pattern that you are going to build all the way up. And actually, Colin, you are shifted over. Okay, you caught it. All right, now that we have our outline laid out for our 2 pickle farm bases, we are going to add the blocks to place underneath our waterlogged leaves. If you are building a Duck V5, chances are this is not your first pickle farm, and you already know that you need to keep the coral alive when placing it. However, if this is your first time, we do have a video that explains some of the manipulation to keep coral alive. We'll put a link right here. Now, when you are building your pickle farms, you need to remember 2 patterns. Now, those patterns are going to be mirrored every other level. So levels 1, 3, etc. are going to be 1 pattern, and levels 2, 4, 6 will be a mirror version of it. So really, you only need to remember 1. You just have to remember to swap it. The first one is going to be placed on the 4th piston 4 blocks away. So count 4 pistons and then count 1, 2, 3, 4. Place a block. Your second block is going to be on the opposite side, counting in 3 and then counting up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and place a block. Now, the 4th piston I counted from the left. We are going to go to the opposite side of the farm and do the exact same thing again. We are going to count over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and count up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We are going to count up 6 from the 3rd piston, just like we did on the first side. So 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So your pattern should look like this. There will be 4 farms off-centered from each other, and then you will just do the exact same thing on the module next to it, or as many modules as you have. Alright, if your pattern looks like this, you are ready to move on to the next step. Just make sure that everything is in line. We are going to add leaves on top of the blocks. And then we are going to waterlog them. Alright, go ahead and grab yourself a bunch of coral. Now, we are going to use 4 different colors to show the differences between the 4 different farms. You do not have to use multicolored coral. You can mix and match, use 1 solid color if you want. This is just to help you see the pattern. The first thing we are going to do is place a block on top of each of our leaves. Just like that. And because the leaves are waterlogged, that coral will stay nice and hydrated. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to place a coral block on top. But before we do that, we have to make sure we have a water bucket, because if we don't place a water bucket, the coral will die. And let me just demonstrate. Just like that. So you do have quite a bit of time to do this. It is easier to build with a friend, but easy to do by yourself. So go ahead and place your coral block on top and put water on top of that. You're going to do the same thing for all 4 of your farms. And your pickle farm should look like this. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to surround the coral with a square. So start at the bottom coral and just work your way around that column, placing coral all the way around. Once you have a square, you are going to extend the middle block by 1. Until you have our very familiar pickle farm pattern. You are going to repeat these steps placing a square all the way around our center column. And then you're going to extend it out by 1 just in the middle. You will see that the first pattern of the farm will not overlap. So we are not causing any overlap, which will reduce your pickle production. So just work your way around all 4 farms. Alright, your farm should look like this with 4 distinct pickle farms in each of your coral bed. What we are going to do next is add the coral that replaces the coral as the floor shifts. The easiest way to do that is to go to one side of your farm, and I'm using I think it's brain coral. Yeah, I'm using brain coral, the pink coral, to show the difference. Wherever there is coral, we are going to extend it 1 block towards your pistons. You can do this on the opposite side. It doesn't matter which side you do it on, but we are going to extend everything by 1 block all the way down. So if there is an exposed block, we are going to place coral. Where the coral meet, obviously we can't place another coral there, but when the farm shifts over, the blue will take place of the red. So we're actually saving coral with this pattern. But go ahead and add coral anywhere there is coral facing your pistons. So this should be the final layout of your farm. It's going to be the same on both sides. Once your farm looks like this, we are going to take any block of choice and we are going to fill the gaps on the side that your pink coral or your additional coral is. So go ahead and fill this all the way up. Whoop, don't do that. But all the way up. Until we reach the opposite end. Once we get to the opposite side of the farm, we are going to leave a 1 block gap. This gap is required for the farm to shift back and forth. If you add an extra block and you turn the farm on, it is not going to break it because you can't push 13 blocks if your farm is not moving. You know where to look. Alright, your farm should look like this now, and as you can see, regardless of which side we look at it, the pattern is identical. The colors may not be identical, but the pattern is. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is build up our walls with our fence gates. So go ahead and add 2 blocks and 2 fence gates on top of each existing block and existing fence gate. And your farm should start looking like this. Again, it's a lot easier to just start it off and repeat the pattern all the way up. And another thing to note, the reason we're using solid blocks, pickles emit light. So every time you create pickles, it will create a light update, which can cause lag. So if you use transparent blocks, it is going to update more than just the blocks inside the farm. So we have switched to using solid blocks for all of our farms to try to reduce lag ever so slightly. Alright, also note that we did not build up the walls next to the pistons. We have something else that we are going to do here, so just the interior of the pistons, but we are going to build up the inside of the wall. So we are going to place blocks all the way along the side in front of your pistons, except where there is exposed coral. We are going to skip that because we are going to replace that with leaves. So go ahead and add your solid blocks. Now on the side of the farm that is touching your piston, it's the exact same thing. We are going to place solid blocks right in front of your pistons. Place a leaf down on the coral. But before we do that, we're going to have our water bucket ready because we are going to place a leaf and then waterlog it. If you just place the leaf, that coral will die. So be sure to have your water bucket handy. And then build that up all the way. On the opposite side, you're going to do the same thing. Make sure you waterlog that leaf. It's not as crucial to do it right away since there's no coral under it. Just make sure you don't forget that step. Alright, once you have encased your coral bed, we are going to start the water manipulation. Because the coral bed is so large, we do have to manipulate it to make sure that all the water is flowing towards our exits. The first thing we are going to do is we are going to start in a corner. It's best to have 2 water buckets, that's all you need. Place 1 water bucket in the corner, skip a block, place a second water bucket. The block in between will be an infinite water source, so you can draw from that water. Refill your buckets, skip a block, add water, skip a block, add water, refill your buckets on one of the many infinite water sources, and work your way all the way until you get to the corner. Once you are in the corner, we are going to do the same thing along the adjacent wall, placing water every other block until you get to the corner. And we are just about done. Refill your water buckets and continue skipping a block until you get right towards the corner. And you don't even need to do the last corner usually. Yep, the water will merge from the middle, and the entire block space above the coral is now an infinite water source, and you do the same thing on both modules. Alright, now the next thing we are going to do is we are going to add our pickles. So add a pickle on top of each... Oh, goodness me. Alright, we're going to add pickles on top of each coral block, just like that. Now the next thing we are going to do is elevate the water up to make it all flowing on top of the solid water. The reason we have the infinite water source is pickles can float in water, so they will float up. If you do not waterlog the entire bottom floor, the pickles will sink and they will never exit the farm. So once you have your infinite water source, you are going to find on the length side, the side with your exits, you're going to find the coral block that is closest to you, and you are going to place a leaf block closest to the wall. So when we get to our upper modules, we are going to reverse where that block is. It will actually be over here. So just find the block closest to you and closest to the wall. We are going to place a leaf block to the side of your pickle. We are going to waterlog it, and then we're going to break the leaf block. We're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Find the coral that is closest to you, the wall that's closest to the coral, place a leaf block on the side of your pickle, waterlog the leaf, and break it. You're going to do the same thing on both sides. Colin has already done it over here. Alright, back to your starting point. The block that's closest to you, we're going to go to the wall furthest from you, but we are going to place a water bucket on the third block. So the block that's right in front of your coral, it should be in line with your coral block, just like that. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And maybe I didn't explain that very well. So the block closest to you, where you put your leaf block, you're basically just going to go to the opposite side and place water along that back wall, just like that. Alright, now this step is just tedious. You are going to add leaves all along the bottom. Wherever there is running water and there is water that's not moving next to it, we're just going to add leaves. What that does is that elevates the water up, causes it to flow on top of the infinite water source until we have an entire water stream on top of your water, so the pickles will float up and flow out. So we're going to do this all along the bottom. What I typically do is I start with the block closest to me. I go to the other side. I do the same exact thing. And then I go right down the center off of that middle coral. And usually there's one block left. Oh, nope, I just missed a block, so there we go. So 3 rows of leaves. One closest to you, one in the middle, and then one closest to you on the opposite side. Once you place all of your leaves down, we are going to break them. if you are going to reuse these, make sure you have shears or silk touch, unless you have a surplus of leaves, because we're going to use these for the next set of modules as well. Alright, and we can look at the water flow, and you'll see that all of the water is facing one of our exits. Where it is hitting this corner, the pickles will either fall down this exit or flow to the outside exit. The reason that we have fin skates here is so we can carry the fin skates up all the way, and we will be rotating it. So on the first layer, the arrows will be facing the fin skate. On the same exit, one module up, it's going to look like this. So that's why we have these patterns. Oh, actually, you can see it right here. So on one side you have two, and then on the other side you have two diagonal. Alright, that is your water manipulation. That's the hardest part of the entire build. Alright, we have one final step. If we look right here in the middle, you will see a dead spot. This is troublesome because it will collect tons and tons of pickles in the middle. So where this pink block is, that I do recommend using a different color so it's easier to find. If you didn't, that's fine. But you're going to place a leaf block on top. The bottom is already waterlogged, so you don't have to do anything there. Place another leaf on top of that, waterlog it, and now all of the water motion inside of the farm is going to be off-centered, so there will be no more dead spots. And that is your water manipulation complete. We are now ready to move on to some of the redstone. We are going to hop to the back of the farm, and we are going to place a row of solid blocks behind all of our pistons. And we're going to do this on both sides. Once you have your solid blocks, we are going to pick a side. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to choose the side that I started on, and I'm going to extend redstone dust all the way to the side, and then I'm just going to run a line of redstone dust until I get to this center block. Grab an observer. Make sure the face of the observer is looking at that redstone line, the output is above the pistons, and carry the redstone all the way down. This is going to be where we put our clock, so you do need to keep track of where you're building from this point on. And then on the back side, you're going to do the same thing, making sure that your observer is looking in the same direction on both sides or your farm will not work. And make sure you have a redstone dust line all the way to the corner on one side, which will be the same as the opposite side. You don't need to carry it beyond this last block for the end of your farm. Oh, like Colin did. Just like that. Now the next thing we're going to do is we are actually going to break out a block. You can place this at the start. However, until you know where you want your clock to be, you may want to adjust it later. But what I'm going to do is right above the very first piston, opposite of where I want my clock. Again, you can choose either side. I'm choosing the corner we started on. I'm going to break out the block right above it and replace it with a note block. If you do it on this side, you don't have to worry about your redstone dust washing out. Place a note block and then place an observer looking at the note block. And that is all you need to do for the return. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to, on the corner where our redstone dust is, so I'm going to hop up here to make it a little easier. I'm going to place an observer looking at the corner and place a second observer looking in the corner. I'm going to do this on both sides. Should look like that. And then on both sides, Colin, if you want to grab that one, I'll grab this one. We are going to run a line of solid blocks all the way along the back. Until we reach the end of our pistons. And you're going to do that on both sides. Now what this is going to do, that's going to set us up for our next farm. We are going to place pistons directly above the previous pistons. making sure you skip that block in the middle and then replace it with a solid block. We are going to build up our center wall. Just like that. And then you're going to add your fence gates. You're also going to build up the outside walls. Colin has already started over here, so I'm going to make my way over here and do the same thing. Just like that. Now, since we are building additional modules, we do want to go ahead and place these pistons first. When we get to the last module, we do something a little different. We still build up the back wall, we just don't place the pistons. Now, we are going to add the redstone for our dispensers. The first thing we're going to do is on the outside of your source pickle, so the second block in your coral bed, we're going to place a piston underneath that second piston. We are going to place a piston in the middle, so where your leaf blocks are, under the piston. And then again on the outside, which will be your second piston. And we're going to do this on all 4 sides of both modules, or I guess on both sides of both modules, 4 times, making sure that we are lining everything up.
Stop! Are you looking for your very own Minecraft or Vein server? Then look no further. Today's video is sponsored by HostByte, a hosting company providing outstanding performance without breaking your wallet. Click the link in the description below to find out more. And remember, HostByte is not just limited to Minecraft. Go explore all the other various games HostByte has to offer.
Alright, once you have placed your bottom pistons, it's time to do the redstone for our dispensers. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the coral that is closest to us that's on the outside. So when I say the outside, the blue and the yellow I'm calling the inside, the purple and red I'm calling the outside. The one closest to us, we're going to place 6 redstone blocks off of that piston. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It'll be right up to the edge of our coral block, or in line with it. And then we're going to switch to solid blocks the rest of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We are going to do the exact opposite for the one furthest away from us, as you could probably imagine. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then redstone blocks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 until we're 1 block away. We do need to have this gap so we can shift it back and forth, so don't forget that. The next one is going to be in the middle of both farms. We are going to place 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to place 1, 2, 3, and 4 blocks of choice, as long as they can be pushed by a piston. And then 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is what your pattern will look like, and you're going to do this on both sides. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is add a bunch of droppers and our dispensers. So we are going to start on, it doesn't matter which side you start on really, but we're going to place droppers. Everything is going to be 1 block away from this back wall. So off of your redstone blocks, even with your source pickle, we're going to place 1, 2, 3, and 4, stopping shy of our pickle. And then we're going to place a dispenser facing... Oh my gosh, I hate placing blocks in water. What is happening? Okay. Placing a dispenser facing straight down. So, 4 blocks, 1 block away, and then a dispenser. For the pickle that is closest to our wall, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to place... Make sure those are droppers. 2 droppers, and then a dispenser facing... down. Facing down. Goodness, I hate placing stuff in water. And then we're going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side. We're going to In the middle, place 2 droppers facing your source pickle, and then we're going to add a dispenser facing down. Just like that. And if you haven't figured it out already, the exact same pattern for the outside pickle. 1, 2, 3, and 4 with a dispenser facing down. And you're going to do the same thing on both sides. Alright, we are just about ready to test this. What we're going to do now is we're going to extend our redstone signal to the top of our farm. Grab yourself some redstone dust, and right above the 2 observers, we're going to start our redstone dust. We're going to carry it over just like we did on the first layer, adding our observer, and then more redstone dust. Right up to that last piston. We're going to do the same thing on both sides. Alright, up to this point, everything is exactly mirrored with the exception of our return system. Remember, we did place a note block here that will act as our return. So opposite of your note block, we're going to come underneath your 2 observers, and I'm going to place a lever next to my column. I'm going to place a comparator comparing the signal from my lever in subtract mode. I'm going to place a redstone repeater on a 4 tick into the side of my comparator, and then I'm going to loop it around, and my clock is ready to go. So Colin, if you want to flip that on, we will make sure everything's working. Oh, it is not working because I forgot the most important piece of this clock. That's 1 additional observer on this corner. There we go. Alright, go ahead and flip it off. Alright, that is pretty much it for layer 1. We do have to add some hoppers, but we can actually add these later. There's plenty of space to walk back here. It's really easy to troubleshoot this farm. Alright, we are going to be adding the integrated crafters later. Again, you have plenty of space to walk around, but just in case we spill water over and we have to come in and fix the redstone dust, I would just recommend waiting until you have all of your modules built out. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start building our coral bed for our second module. Now the placement is a lot easier to identify. What we're going to do is we're going to place a leaf opposite of the dispenser in the middle, just like that. And then we're going to place a leaf opposite of the dispenser on the outside, just like that. Once you have placed your leaves down, we are going to waterlog them. And we're going to do this on both sides. Don't forget to waterlog your leaves or your coral will die. Alright, now this next step is optional, but what we are going to do once you have placed your leaves and waterlogged them for your next farm, or if this is the top, you could still do this, it's optional. I am very bad at building in survival. I inevitably fall off all the time and I have to pearl to get up. So what I do is I block off everything that is above the water. Again, this is completely optional. I will show you something that is going to help you in your build. But before I do that, let me just finish blocking everything off. Alright, we are going to hop down into our farm, and we're going to place hoppers into the back of each of our droppers. We're going to get to the crafting piece later. You'll see why in a moment. But there's plenty of room to walk around back here. If you leave a block off and you mess up your redstone, it's just easier not to have your crafter built out yet. But we are going to block off everything above this wall. This technically is not required, but when you are doing the coral for the next module, the water is going to flow down and wash out your redstone. So I just like to keep everything nice and tidy. Make sure you don't do what I just did and cover those pistons. There we go. So you should have a solid surface for your second module, and in line with your redstone blocks, one side should have a gap. Alright, now that you have a solid surface to walk around on, we are going to place our coral on top of our leaf blocks. So again, you don't have to use different colors. I'm just doing this to make it easier to see when we build it out. But place your leaf or your coral on top of your leaf blocks, and then tower up one block with water on top, and do this for all 4 of your farms. Alright, and if you did not mirror the modules side by side, you built them exactly the same, and you are following along with this tutorial, then your 2 modules should look identical, which ours do. So we are ready to move on. We are going to place the square around our coral, just like we did on layer 1. And we're going to extend it out 1 block on each corner, just like that. And we're going to do this for all 4 of our farms. Alright, if your farm looks like this, you are ready to add the extensions. Same thing as before. We are going to place a coral block on the side that our switch is going to be. If there is an air gap in front of your coral, we are going to add coral on top. And we're going to do this for every single farm. Just like that. Again, this is when the farm shifts, there will be an equal amount of coral to spread pickles on. Alright, well, Colin is going to build up the inside walls and the outside walls, just like we have done from the beginning. Now, you don't have to do it this way, but since I added my redstone dust to protect, or to test, I'm going to protect the redstone dust by building up my wall first. Now, we do have to fill this in a moment, but what I'm going to do right in front of my pistons, I'm going to start building a solid wall until I get to my coral, where I'm going to place a leaf and waterlog it, and then carry my solid wall all the way to where Colin has started building up. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. However, there is a gap here, so you'll have to be mindful of this gap. Make sure it's there. And we're going to build up, again, 1 block, add our leaf, waterlog it, and carry it all the way over. This just keeps the water from spilling out and messing up all your redstone. And then you're going to do this on all 4 sides. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in all of the gaps where my coral is not touching. Remember the side that has the return. We are going to leave an air gap in the back. But since I built this side up, I do need to place blocks underneath. So be sure to add blocks along your pistons. And then just fill in all of the gaps between the coral. Again, on the side with the return, you do want that air gap, so don't place it underneath on one side of your farm. Alright, Colin is finishing his side. Actually, it looks like he finished his side. So we are ready to start the water manipulation. Before I do that, I'm going to build up this back wall 1 more. Again, we're going to make it 2 blocks tall. We're just protecting our redstone dust at this point. Just like on layer 1, we are going to start in any corner, skipping a block, and making sure the first layer directly above your coral bed is waterlogged. Until you have an infinite water source all along your coral bed. Alright, now this is what I was talking about earlier. Grab your pickles. Place a pickle on top of each of your elevated coral blocks. And this is where the manipulation is slightly different. This is why I don't say place it to the left or to the right. You find the coral block that's closest to you up against the wall where the exits are. Place a leaf block to the wall closest to the pickle. Waterlog it, break it, go to the other side. Coral block closest to you, the side closest to the wall. Place the leaf block, waterlog, break it, and then the coral block closest to you. On the furthest wall, we're going to place water. And then we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Coral block closest to you, place water in line with that source pickle. Now use the leaves that you collected on the first layer, and starting at the block closest to you, we're just going to walk this water all the way over to the side. We're going to do the same thing on the opposite end. And then we're going to do the same thing in the middle. Now when you do it in the middle, you have to start in front of one of the source blocks. If I started here, you can see the water is not going to flow. So you do have to start at a source block for that water to spread correctly. Just keep that in mind. And that is it. Harvest your leaves for your next layer. Last and final step for the water manipulation: to address the dead spot in the middle, we're going to place our 2 leaf blocks. If you have a resource pack that shows the water, this one is available on our Discord, but if you have used a different color, you can use that. If not, just look for that dead spot, add your leaf at the bottom, and don't forget to waterlog the leaf on top. We are ready to start the redstone for layer 3, so hop down and grab your observers and place 2 observers on the corner redstone directly above the previous observers, and then do a row of solid blocks all the way along your pistons until you reach the end. Now we are going to go up we're going to actually go up 4 modules total. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our pistons again, run them along the back side, skipping that center block. Replace that center block with a solid block. And as we did before, we're going to build up our walls. And add your fence gates. Alright, we are ready to do the redstone for the dispensers, so grab yourself some pistons. Again, it's going to be 3 pistons, 1 to the outside of your furthest farms. So right on the outside, it's going to be your second piston, and then it's going to be the center piston where your leaf blocks are. And you're going to do this on both sides. So the second piston, the 5th piston, and then the second from the right. Just like that. Alright, this is exactly the same as the first module in reverse. Remember, the outside coral block that's closest to you is where I want to start. So find the one closest to you. On this level, it is going to be the purple one. Run 6 redstone blocks, 6 solid blocks, and then on the opposite side you're going to run 6 solid blocks, 6 redstone blocks, and then we are going to, in the middle, run 4 redstone blocks, 4 solid blocks, 4 redstone blocks. And if you followed along correctly, you should have a gap, again required for the shifting. grab yourself your droppers and your dispensers. This is going to be a mirror image. Again, along the side of the redstone blocks, we're going to place droppers 1 block away from our wall until we are right in front of our pickle. We're going to hop down, place a dispenser looking at that pickle. We're going to do the same thing on all of the redstone blocks, placing droppers 1 shy of the pickle, placing a dispenser facing, oh goodness me, placing a dispenser facing down, and do the same thing on the opposite side. And then don't forget your last and final farm. Alright, if you want to test everything out once again, add your redstone dust on top of the solid blocks behind your pistons on both sides of the farm, adding an observer in the middle. And then, Colin, if you wouldn't mind flipping it on, we will test to make sure everything's working. And as you can see, it's working perfectly. Go ahead and flip it off. Alright, that is the second layer, and just like the first, we're going to go ahead and prepare the third layer by placing leaves opposite of the moving blocks next to the dispenser. So across from the moving block, we're going to place a leaf block on both sides of the middle row. And then on the outside dispensers, we are just going to place it on the inside opposite. And then do the same thing on the other side. So you should have the same exact pattern that we had on the first module. So those are the 2 patterns that you'll need to know. Every odd number row will be the same, and every even number row will be the same, or even number module will be the same. Be sure to waterlog your leaves, or your coral will die when you go to place it. Place your hoppers on the back of your droppers. And then again, just like before, this part is optional, but I opt to fill in all of the gaps in my roof, keeping in mind that on the return side, you do need to leave a gap in front of your lower 3 pistons. So once we do that, we'll be right back with you. Alright, we are ready to build layer 3. Again, layer 3 is going to be the exact same configuration as layer 1. And once again, I'm going to be changing my colors to make it easier for me to see. That is totally optional. So we're going to kind of breeze through this since this is identical. Build up your coral and add the square and the extension. And just like before, remember to place your coral on the same side, facing your starting point, adding 1 block. And again, we're going to do everything the exact same way as we did the second module. So Colin is going to go ahead and start building up the outer walls. I'm going to build up the inner walls, remembering to first of all have a water bucket handy or we'll kill our coral. Place the leaf on top of the water bucket, waterlog it, and then continue a solid wall 1 block in front of our pistons. I'm just going to go all the way across. And the reason we do that is to protect the redstone when we do the water manipulation. On the back side, remember to leave a gap in front of your pistons, so this can go all the way across, adding a leaf block in front of our coral. And on the side where the solid blocks meet, be sure to sneak in those blocks right up next to the piston. If you do it this way, you shouldn't have any redstone get washed out. But if you do, it's very accessible and easy to fix. Alright, he's got his walls up, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this back wall 2 blocks high. All of that water should be contained, and once we do that, we're going to fill in all the gaps next to our coral. Again, remember not to place blocks up against the pistons on the return side. Alright, once you have a solid bed for your coral, for the floors to shift, we're going to convert the first block into an infinite water source, same as before, skipping every other block. And if you do it right, everything will turn into an infinite water source. If you are building this in Donut and it doesn't convert into an infinite water source, sometimes water can be a little temperamental, so just continue on the 4th side and eventually it will all convert. Alright, moving on. We are back to the original design, so we are going to grab our pickles, and once again our pickle is going to be added to the elevated coral blocks, and then you will find the coral block closest to you, and you will go on the wall closest to it, place a leaf, waterlog it, and break it. Same thing on the opposite side. Place a leaf, waterlog it, and break it. And then opposite of where that leaf was, we're going to place a bucket on the wall. Same thing with the first side, opposite of the water that we placed with the leaf, place a water bucket on the wall. So again, just in line with that pickle. Grab the leaves that we harvested from the first layer and second layer and elevate all of that water. And once you have all of your leaves down, now I've been harvesting and breaking all of these leaves, but you technically don't have to break that center one out. You can just go ahead and build right on top of it at that moment and then harvest the rest. Alright, the water manipulation is done. Let's go ahead and add our structure for our 4th and final module for this video. We're going to do the exact same thing, and we're going to grab 2 observers and build up in both corners. Placing solid blocks on top of the observers and running it all the way to the end of our 2nd row of pistons. And if you want to, while you're up here, you can go ahead and run that redstone dust so we don't have to do it later. The order really doesn't matter. Alright, again, I'm going to do 4 modules, so I'm going to grab my pistons and run it along the back row. Just like on the first 3. And I actually did too many. Skip that middle block. Alright. Once you have your pistons in place, the same thing as the 2nd layer, we are going to grab our pistons and we're going to go on the 2nd piston from both sides and then in between in the middle. And to confirm that you're in the right spot, you want to be even with your leaves, and then 1 block to the outside of the outer pickles. And you'll do this on both sides, on both modules. Just like that. Go ahead and grab your redstone blocks and the solid blocks that you've been building with. And this is going to be exactly the same as the first level. So the coral block that is closest to me on the outside is going to be on my right. So I'm going to start 6 redstone blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, followed by 6 blocks of choice. I'm going to do the exact opposite on the opposite side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks of choice, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 redstone blocks. In the middle, you are going to place 1, 2, 3, 4 redstone blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks of choice, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So, the easiest way to remember, the center is always going to be the same regardless of which orientation your farm is in. The only thing that's going to change is which side the 6 red stone blocks go, and they're always going to be on the side with the pickle. If your pickle is not touching a redstone block in the starting position, then you have it swapped on the wrong side. All right, moving on. All right, just like we did previously, we are going to start right up at the wall. We are not going to place it on the wall, because again, we want to double pulse. So place your droppers, 4 of them, up to your pickle. Do this on both of the outer farms. On the inner farms, we are going to place 2 droppers. And then add your dispensers directly above your pickle, making sure that the output is facing down. And we are ready to, I think we built up our walls first last time, so let's go ahead and do that now. Just build up your outer and inner walls with your fence gates. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my hoppers and add them to the back of my droppers on both sides of the farm. Don't worry about that hopper locking because the floor will shift, so there'll be plenty of time for the bone meal to enter those droppers. And as always, this part is optional, but I will be covering the top. So this is 1, 2, 3, and we will be doing a 4th layer. So before we do that, let's go ahead and grab our leaves. Place from the center row a leaf opposite of your dispenser. And then on the inside of the outer blocks, we're going to place leaves opposite of those middle dispensers on both sides. Don't forget to waterlog. And then, as you already know, I'm going to fill mine in. Alright, we are ready for our 4th and final layer. So go ahead and grab all of your coral. And just like before, I'm going to use 4 different colors. And I'm going to stack them up, add the water, and then finish the farm. And once we do that, we'll be right back. Alright, let's go ahead and build up that back wall again. If you haven't quite figured it out yet, the reason I am doing the back first, if I were to fill these up, I would potentially overflow it if I don't fill it exactly in the right order. Since the inside is still below the level of the pistons, the water should flow back in on itself. But again, when you're dealing with an SMP and public networks, sometimes a lag can cause the water to do funky things. So that's just, I prefer to do the top first. But as you can see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you can get away with it, but I do like to do the bottom last. Alright, since this is the final farm, we went ahead and temporarily removed the water just so you can get a better view. And hopefully I can get a better screenshot to share on our Discord page, the water. But this is the pattern. Remember, on this side there is a coral block under the leaf, and then everything under this back wall does have that air gap. Alright, we built up our wall 2 blocks high. It is time to make our infinite water source by going to one of the corners and skipping every other block with 2 buckets of water, refilling your buckets as you go. Alright, now that the first layer above the shifting floor is a solid renewable water source, we are going to find the coral block that is closest to you, add a leaf on the side closest to the wall, waterlog it, break it. Instead of going opposite and doing that side first, you can actually just go straight to the wall, place your water opposite of the leaf, if that's easier to see where that goes. Leaf, waterlog, break, and then opposite on the wall. Right, now the last and final time we are going to do this, grab your stack of leaves, place them directly in front of that block closest to you, run the water all the way to the side, run it all the way to the opposite side, do the same on the mirror side of your shifting floor, and then once again down the middle. Once all of your water is elevated, you are ready to break down the leaves, harvest them, use silk touch, whatever you need to do. Go ahead and leave that leaf in the middle on our oddly colored coral, place a leaf on top, waterlog it, and then get that last and final row. Alright, that is our fourth layer complete. Let's go ahead and do the redstone. Now, I said this is going to be slightly different. We are going to start the same way, off of the side of your farm, directly above the observers. We're going to go up 2, just like we did before. We're going to grab our solid blocks and run it all the way to the end of our pistons, or the second row of pistons, just like we did before. This time, however, instead of running a row of pistons along the back wall, we are going to grab ourselves some note blocks. And where our pistons are going to shift the redstone blocks, we are going to place a note block directly on top. So it's going to be the third block from the observers, and then 2 blocks over, or actually 1 block from the outside farm is going to be your second note block, and then right in the middle will be your third note block. You're going to do this on both sides, or both farms. It's probably easier to find the middle and then just count 2 over from there. Just like that. Grab your last 6 pistons, and underneath your note blocks, we are going to place pistons facing the farm. The reason we are adding note blocks, because we want to set this up for a future expansion, and so the redstone is consistent all the way up. The note block is going to provide a block update when the back line is powered, and that will give our redstone dust, which is going to power the piston QC. It's going to give that piston a block update. And we're ready to move on with our redstone blocks and solid blocks. Grab your redstone blocks. Again, you're going to do the side that is closest to your switch. So our switch is going to be on this corner. The outside farms, we find the one that's closest, and we count out 6 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Switch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The center is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is always going to be the same. It's never going to change. And then opposite of your redstone blocks is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks of choice. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go ahead and grab your droppers and your dispensers. Along the redstone blocks, we are going to add our droppers 1 block away from the back ledge. It's going to be 4 on the outside, 2 in the middle, and that's going to be the same for both sides. 2 in the middle and 4 on the outside. Place your dispenser facing down towards your pickle. Once you have your droppers and dispensers wired up, we are going to place hoppers in the back of the droppers. Now this time, we do not need to worry about placing leaves opposite of the dispenser, so if you are happy with the way this looks, you can leave it open. However, I am known to expand my base and junk will fall down and inevitably get into my storage system of my pickles. So even though I'm not building another layer, I'm still going to block this off. That is entirely up to you on whether you want to do that. That is just my preference. Alright, and again, you can always break out these blocks to expand it, but since I am at the top of where I am going to build, I'm also going to cap off the top of my fin skates. This is more an aesthetic choice, it is not required. However, I like it to be all nice and tidy. Alright, now that everything is looking nice and tidy, I'm going to make sure that I've got an air gap in front of my pistons on my return side. And then, again, this is entirely up to you. You don't have to do this, but I am going to place solid blocks on top of my hoppers so I don't accidentally drop something in there later. I am also going to grab some carpet. You can grab any carpet of choice or any block of choice. I am simply going to place this on top of my note blocks to keep them silent. And last but certainly not least, we need to add our redstone dust. Once you get to the slice with the observer, we're going to place our final observer and run our redstone dust all the way to the last note block. You don't have to carry it all the way because there is not a piston that needs to fire, so you are done. And Colin, if you wouldn't mind flipping the lever, let's just make sure everything is shifting. And it looks like it is shifting perfectly. Alright, go ahead and turn it off. Alright, it is time to move on to our crafters. This is an extremely simple crafting system. We are using one crafter per farm, so it is a little pricey, but the space savings is worth it. We are going to place a crafter behind the piston, closest to our observer. We are going to do the same thing on our second piston. And the reason I say next on the piston instead of with the hopper, as you'll see on the opposite side of the farm, we are going to do the same thing mirrored off of the first piston and off of the second piston. So it's going to be offset ever so slightly, but it will make sense as we go. For the sides where there is a gap, you are going to place a hopper into the hopper, snake it over towards your crafter, and then in front of your crafter. And you will do this on both farms. On the side where they are right in front of the crafter, you're just going to place 2 hoppers. Set your crafting recipe. Deselect all but one slot. It doesn't matter which slot, you can pick any one you want. I can't help but choosing the middle, but it doesn't matter. Alright, once you have your crafters, every time the clock makes 1 cycle, the farm will consume 2 bone meal. The crafter will only pulse once and will produce 3 bone meal. So you will have 1 bone meal surplus, so we have to do some overflow protection. We are going to add a 2x3 platform underneath each of our crafters. Colin is going to do that side. From this point, it's exactly the same, just mirrored. In front of the hopper, we are going to add a comparator. In front of the comparator, we're going to add a solid block. Diagonal from the solid block next to the crafter, we're going to add another solid block. And then we're going to finish it off with redstone dust. Alright, this is why I said it is easier to do later, because you can hop right up to the next level. Before we do that, I'm going to grab a hopper, face it into my crafter, pull it out 1, face it into my crafter, and pull it out 1. This will be where we add our bones. Once you have your hoppers into your crafters, right next to the solid blocks with the redstone dust, we are going to place barrels. It wouldn't matter if you chose to use hoppers, but this will keep the hoppers from locking constantly, which can lag out in Donut. We are going to build this up to hoppers, And we're going to move on to our crafter. So hop up onto layer 2, add your crafters behind your 2 pistons on both sides. This time, the hoppers are going to be shifted over on the opposite side. So every time you change a level, the hoppers are going to be off-centered by 1, but all you need to know is the 2 outside pistons are where our crafters are going to go. Set your crafting recipe, and where there is a single hopper 1 block away, we're going to add 2 hoppers. And where there is a gap, we are going to add a hopper, snake it over, and then add it in front of our crafter. Just like that. Once your crafters are in position, we are going to add our overflow protection, which as you can see will fit conveniently between our hopper line. Add a comparator in front of your hoppers, 2 solid blocks, redstone dust, and our crafter for module 2, or the second layer of our modules, is complete. Just like on layer 1, we are going to place a hopper into the crafter, snake it out, add a barrel on top, and then build up 2 more hoppers. And we are ready for layer 3. Hop up there, add your crafters, and do the exact same steps. And just like the first and second layer, we are going to snake out a couple hoppers going into our crafters, add our barrels, and continue up. Alright, we finished the last and final crafter for this side. We are going to make our way over to the opposite side, and conveniently, the way we have spaced everything out, the build is going to be identical. We're going to place the crafters facing towards the middle of the farm on both sides. We are going to do the same hopper placement, depending on whether there's 1 gap or no gap. And we're going to do this all the way up. Alright, and Colin is finishing up that last hopper line. Now, unlike the Duck V4, the Duck V5 has a dedicated bone line for each farm, so the side of your farm will hold more bones. If you wanted to expand your storage, you could replace the barrels with double chests. If you are worried about running out of bones and you're just going to run this as quickly as possible, as evenly as possible, you can always leave it with barrels. You could replace it with hoppers, or you could even use decorated pots. We just like the way the barrels looked. Alright, our farm is complete. There is one thing that you can do to make it easier to put bones in later. Because of where our hopper placement is, we can actually put double chests at the very top instead of the barrel hopper. And you can do this on all sides. So when you are doing your water stream for your bones, you can simply run it across a single line of hoppers, and you can align it between. That way, all 4 corners, you are only running 1 bone line. This is entirely up to you. We're not going to cover that in this video. We have done several videos on water streams. This is just a good way to start out. Alright, so we can demonstrate this. We are going to build a water stream, and since it is an extremely simple water stream, we're going to go ahead and show it. I know this is a long video, but this will give you an idea if you have built the modules exactly the same way we did. On either side of the farm, we are going to have our exit directly in the middle of the fence gates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build down, I'm going to use glass so we can see the pickles flowing. I'm going to build down 1 block, and then I'm going to place packed ice. You don't need packed ice, I just like the way it looks. We're going to place packed ice between the 2 rows or 2 columns of outer fence gates. And I am going to make my exit on the opposite side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cap off the front with any block of choice. Underneath the farm, we are going to do the same thing. We are going to leave just enough space to add a water bucket in the corners. So I'm going to go ahead and just add 2 blocks. We are going to find the middle of our farm. Now the center is going to be between the 2 center posts with our waterlogged leaves. And I'm just going to prepare the water stream with packed ice. So I'm going to run this all the way to the end of our farm. Like this. And then I'm going to find my inner fence gates right here. And Colin, if you could do that side. I'm going to run packed ice all the way to my last exit. So I went 1 too far. I am going to place glass under the outside next to my furthermost exit. And then we are going to do the exact same thing for the outside and the inside. So I'm going to grab a water bucket real quick. I'm going to place down a water bucket in the corner, and I'm going to use glass to block it off until we get to our center water stream. And Colin's going to do the exact same thing on the other side, which will leave you with a water stream that joins right in the middle. Colin, what do you want to use? Go ahead and pick something to block off the water. Alright, he has chosen a fence gate, it looks like. Right in front of the fence gate, we do need to open it. We are going to place a bucket of water, and we are going to run this all the way until we get to the center. We are going to place another fence gate. Colin, if you could place a fence gate right there. And open it. And then I'm going to block that off with glass and run it all the way to my outer exit. I'm going to place down a bucket of water. I killed my water. Place down a bucket of water and then block it off all the way to our exit on both sides. And I'm going to repeat the exact same thing, adding a fence gate in front, opening it, placing water, until we get to our last and final exit, which is going to be right here. Oh, we killed our switch. Alright, now this is the side we are exiting, but we are going to start off the same way by adding glass on the outer corners. I'm going to go ahead and add glass on the inside of the farm. And then I'm going to run my packed ice underneath my exits. Grab your bucket of water and block it all the way to the center. I killed my switch again. Luckily, it's a really easy switch to fix. But add your buckets of water until we have the water exiting where we want it. And we are going to place packed ice, glass, and a fence gate, exactly like we did on the first and second exit. So now all of our pickles are going to be exiting, and we will probably add a bubble column and turn the farm on for you. Alright, we have filled it up with bones. We're going to go ahead and flip it on just so you can see what it looks like when all those pickles start to produce. And you can see in no time at all, this thing is just going to produce and produce and produce. And that's going to wrap up another video. I'm CD3 Daddy.
And I am C3DG Minecraft.
Thank you so much for being a part of this video. I know it was a long video, and if you stayed to the end, you rock. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like, comment, and if you've not already done so, subscribe. It's just one click of a button, and it helps us out tremendously.